Hello, everybody. Happy Monday. I hope you had a peaceful weekend and peaceful Monday. And again, thank you so much for being here. We'll try a bit of a new format. So I know that our live streams are very long. So we'll keep our Fridays long live streams where you can ask questions and we dive deep into a few topics. And then Monday through Thursday, let's stick to about 30 minutes where we're going to talk about the major headlines of the day. And then, as you can find in description of this episode, or if you're watching on X or Substack, in description of my profile, you can find a link to a free, absolutely paywall-free newsletter. It's a news briefing. Everything is short, straight to the point. There is no fluff. There is no opinion. But there's context when it's needed. There are also not many videos or anything. I usually quote Trump or anybody who's speaking. So there you can read. We have quick national news, straight to the point. We have quick global news and also deep dives. So I want to direct you to that where you can get a cup of whatever and read it either, during the day, in the afternoon, or in the morning. Perhaps you want to start your day with that. So that kind of would then start making sense. All right. So today we're going to be talking about, again, major headlines. ACA Showdown. What the hell happened yesterday? Shutdown breakthrough. And do we have a breakthrough, right? What are the chances? We're going to talk about the new geopolitical shocks from Asia. There's death threats. There is everything that you kind of don't want to have. And the changes to the Middle East. Of course, today, the new Syrian president, Ahmed al-Shara, was at the White House. He was also there in Washington, D.C., a couple of days before that, where, just to paint the picture, this guy went from having a $10 million bounty on his head to playing basketball with the head of CENTCOM. CENTCOM is a central command that is actually dealing with Syria. And he was playing with people who were essentially hunting him, if you will, right? Because he is former Al-Qaeda leader. So today he arrived in Washington, D.C. To cheers of the crowd. I showed you videos on across the socials. You saw it already. People, supporters of Palestine were there greeting him. He had a bit of like a star reception on the street. And then off camera, because everything was off press, right? So everything was closed press. Today was Trump's meeting with al-Shara, followed by the swearing-in ceremony for Gore. Gore, Russia-affiliated individual who was in charge of Trump's campaign, who is now, officially now, from today on, the ambassador to India. We have pictures. I mean, yes, they did answer some questions from the press later on, but this is Gore. This is where Trump was swearing him in as the next ambassador to India, certainly with major ties to Russia. And Erica Kirk was there for some reason. I posted videos across the socials, like why was she specifically at the ceremony? But then this is the meeting with al-Shara. And this photo alone would have blown anybody's mind about a year ago. You have a former leader of a terrorist organization sitting at the Oval Office in front of President of the United States and right next to Vice President of the United States. So under Biden regime, or Biden administration rather, I cannot physically imagine this type of story happening, but here we are. Al-Shara also met with our lawmakers yesterday and today. It was facilitated by people with affiliation to Syria. He met in DC again with those who did fight against him. And I want to present a readout from someone who is headlining specifically this. Let me read out so I can quote exactly. This is my intention here. So this was facilitated by Jasmine Namo, who is affiliated with Syria, based in DC. They facilitated a meeting between Syria's President Ahmed al-Shara and Chairman of the House on Foreign Relations Committee, Brian Mast. Brian Mast, who fought against al-Shara and It looks like he suffered a major accident and lost both of his legs um, in the process. Now, after meeting with al-Shara, this is what Mast had to say. Today, House Foreign Affairs Committee Chairman Mast issued the following statement after meeting with Syrian President al-Shara. Quote, "Last evening, the new Syrian President al-Shara and I broke bread. We had a long and serious conversation about how to build a future for the people of Syria free of war, ISIS, and extremism. He and I are two former soldiers and two former enemies. I asked him directly, why are we no longer enemies? His response was that he wishes to liberate from the past and have a noble pursuit for his people and his country, and to be a great ally to the United States of America. Today, he will meet with Trump, and again, which then happened, that Syria officially joined global coalition to defeat ISIS." I want to remind you that Al-Qaeda is nowhere mentioned. Al-Shara was not affiliated with ISIS. He was more affiliated with Al-Qaeda. So, again, he's here asking to drop sanctions against Syria so Syria can be, a trade partner and can grow their economy. Trump is willingly dropping the sanctions. He said, we're going to do anything and everything to help Syria succeed. Obviously, this happens because al-Shara and his soldiers did oust the dictator and murderer Assad, who then went on to live in Moscow under, Putin's protection, so to speak. Yes, there are several rumors that he's being poisoned several times, but he is there. Al-Shara did visit Putin a few weeks ago, about a month ago, and he had this big meeting in the Kremlin, and Putin said that we're best friends and I will support you. And of course, Putin wants to get a hold specifically of the Air Force base, the Russian base, and the maritime base, because those are the hubs that are essential for Russia to keep their influence on Africa. They literally stop by, and so that's the hub on the way to Africa. And in Africa, Russia has an influence. Wagner Group is doing horrific things there and majorly recruiting people to fight, so far as in Ukraine, against Ukrainians. Well, al-Shara came back and said, well, we didn't have anything in writing. And he wants to have Assad back in Syria so he can face official prosecution, and be hung or sentenced to death in Syria. He sees that as an important step, rightfully so. Now, he didn't get that from Putin yet. And so al-Shara said, in terms of Russia, well, it's questionable whether they will have the authority, right, and the right to keep the bases. Certainly al-Shara would try. I mean, all this is off the record, and we do understand why. He certainly wants to use Trump as a friend of Putin, and Trump always wants to call Putin and looks for any ability and reason and no reason just to call his best bud and do some deals and business. And here's the question, right? I, as an analyst and as former diplomat, have to tell you, did Putin agree with al-Shara that he will ask Trump to call Putin and ask for a favor, essentially to extradite and, give him Assad, right, to come back to Syria to face public prosecution? Does Putin know what he wants in return? Will that involve not selling the 25 Patriot systems to Ukraine, which Zelensky today asked for? Is this also connected to Tomahawks, right? The far-reaching missile. So it kind of looks like a bit of a setup. We will see what will come out of it, but I'm just connecting the dots here. And again, we will see what factually will happen. All we know for now is that Trump wants to drop the sanctions. Syria joins the coalition against ISIS. Kumbaya. So, now let's talk about what happened yesterday. Short and sweet. The shutdown, again, this is my personal opinion. The government shutdown, has worked for Democrats because we saw it factually, right, the result of it, in the elections last Tuesday. It's less than a week ago. Tomorrow is Tuesday, right? Tomorrow will be exactly 1 week since Democrats really had some great results coming out of the elections, right? Results as to having new governors in New Jersey and, Virginia, and also having Supreme Court confirmed and what happens to them in Pennsylvania, and folks voting in favor of Proposition 50 in California. Let's leave the NYC election away because yes, Democrat won, but when didn't Democrat win in New York, right? In that regard, I know this election was different, but let's keep it aside. So, and you see that people were demanding the GOP, also Democrats, to keep the insurance. The entire shutdown was about the ACA, the Affordable Care Act, that is not being included in the new budget. That is why this shutdown happened. And so yesterday, the Republicans needed exactly 8 Democrats to join them because they hold 52 seats. 60 votes were needed. They found those 8 Democrats that did join them to vote to reopen the government. In return, what they got is a promise, a pinky promise, to vote for the Senate to vote on the ACA bill of Democrats' liking by at least the second week of December. Meanwhile, Trump was talking to the press yesterday and openly stating that he will make sure Senate will not vote for it because, again, 60 votes will be needed. Democrats have 47 seats. To pass the ACA, they would need 13 Republicans to join them. Republicans who come to the former Rose Garden, now Beton parking lot, to this Rose Garden Club where they get merch from Trump, where they really want those favors. And so now we're for this pinky promise on a vote. Will they get the vote? Probably not. And even if they will Trump sign it into law? He openly says that ACA and Obamacare is somehow a scam. He also made up some shitty stuff yesterday, literally reposting a post from a satirical website, the website that openly states, if you believe it, you need to check your head. He didn't check his head, and he posted it claiming that former President Barack Obama makes, some type of royalty on Obamacare. Meanwhile, Obama did not call it Obamacare. Those were the Republicans initially. This is Affordable Care Act. It's nicknamed Obamacare because it happened during Obama, but no, former presidents are not making any type of royalty on any laws that they do pass in their time, in office. But Trump will, because he physically cannot believe why something is called by somebody's name and he doesn't make royalty off of it, because that is his business. He puts his golden name on any building, willingly, unwillingly, and he makes royalty off of it. That's why in New York, a couple of years ago, people were fighting on Upper West Side to remove, right, the Riverside, remove those Trump letters because people didn't want to rent apartments there. But all that it was is just a name. So, okay, now we're in this. Who are these 8 people? Those are these 8 people. What you need to know about them, that none of them is facing re-election in 2026. In fact, 2 of them are retiring. Will they get some bonus from pharma industry? Because what they did yesterday was exactly what pharma industry wanted. And the other 6 are up to re-election in 2030. And God willing, we all will be alive by then. What type of ism are we going to be in? Because at this point, we are in fascism/socialism, because now the government is owning percentages of companies and national resources. So that is what happened yesterday. Yes, now the House has to vote on it. Also, good news is that Speaker Mike Johnson said that he will be actually finally welcoming the new duly elected member, Grijalva, as He will be having the swearing-in ceremony for her. Now, she is 118th voice to open the Epstein files. How will they maneuver around it? Will they vote in favor of opening the government? Yeah, they have the majority. They have J.D. Vance there. Probably they will. Now, will they approve the ACA in December? I think, although December, exactly the third week of December, we are very destined to believe in miracles and it's Christmas. But I don't think that this will be our Christmas present. I don't think the ACA will be delivered by Santa, rather by Grinch. So, again, we will see. But again, we have some type of a way to stop the 40-day shutdown at this point. Senator Sanders put out a video saying that yesterday was a very bad day for America. Take a look.
Tonight, 8 Democrats voted with the Republicans to allow them to go forward on this continuing resolution. And to my mind, this was a very, very bad vote. What it does, first of all, is it raises healthcare premiums for over 20 million Americans by doubling, and in some cases tripling or quadrupling. People can't afford that when we are already paying the highest prices in the world for healthcare. Number two,
and he openly stated yesterday on the floor when he was trying, I'm talking about Senator Sanders, when he was trying to delay the vote, he said, millions of Americans won't be able to have insurance. 50,000 of Americans will die. Do you think it's funny? It's not funny. And it's just the beginning. America is a very expensive country. Americans cannot afford being in America. And yesterday, those who were winning in a weird way, backboneless, spineless, but miraculously, they managed to be on top of the game because of this government shutdown. They saw it physically on Tuesday, less than a week ago, that it works to your advantage. And somehow you stole this from yourself. Again, this is my take. But again, facts are, we are on the way to reopen the government. Yes, people will be paid. Yes, this is good news. But yes, the premiums will go up by about 30%, and many will not be able to afford insurance. Effect. Yes, there will be a vote by the second week of December. And then, once we have that vote, we'll talk about that vote. What also happened around 3 a.m. last night, suddenly Trump administration released the papers. Essentially, this was by their attorney, Ed Martin, who released the papers of something that did happen on November 7th. And what happened that's Trump did pardon his best buds and everybody involved in overturning the election, the results of the election in 2020. Those are around, I think 42 people. I do have the papers there, and here they are. So, of course, we're not going to read all of this, but under those are Rudy Giuliani, John Eastman, Mark Meadows, Christina Bobb, Boris Epstein, dozens of GOP electors, and others tied to efforts to overturn the 2020 election. Now, the good news is this presidential pardon does not affect any state cases. And most of them are dealing with state cases. But what it does, it sends a message. As to if you're with me, I'm here for you. Knowingly that no, it doesn't solve the problems that these people are dealing with on behalf of Trump. But the Trump administration this morning still continued their fight in order not to pay hungry Americans. Well, not to pay. Not to offer them food, the bare minimum, right? We're talking about $175 a week. Well, they told the U.S. Supreme Court on Monday, today, that they're still seeking to halt a judge's order requiring full food aid funding for 42 million low-income Americans, even as Congress moves forward ending the shutdown. So somehow the shutdown does not affect people on SNAP. Meanwhile, Forbes came up with a something yesterday. I called it the biggest blowjob. But I'm going to read it. Forbes estimates currently that Trump's wealth at $7.3 billion as of September 2025, driven by real estate, Truth Social, and crypto spike from Trump token, will jump 140 times, 140x, and make Trump a trillionaire in 2028. Now, God willing, he's there and in whatever capacity to even celebrate this type of win. But let's not focus on 2028. Let's just focus on the math, how they came behind that, right? They do it to favor Trump. BBC, head of BBC, and the head of BBC News department were fired yesterday. Well, officially they retired or whatever. They fired themselves essentially, but it was because suddenly Trump administration decided that they did edit his speech when he was encouraging folks to march to the Capitol on January 6th. And they said, well, we were cutting different clips, and somehow the White House claimed that this was to portray Trump as the initiator, as the engine behind this brutal march on Capitol Hill. I leave you with that. They're gone. Now, the head of news was also giving interview yesterday. She said that BBC News is nowhere near being somehow pro either candidate. They're actually British based, and they were just reporting the facts. Meanwhile, yes, they left. Why is England? Why is BBC? Why is the UK bending over? I let them answer for themselves. But this is what we're dealing with. Carolyn Levitt, the spokesperson of the White House, then retweeted Trump's tweet where he expressed his dissatisfaction with BBC and then was celebrating their firing. And she said, well, BBC is fake news. What do you mean? BBC is also, by the way, in the pool of the White House, traveling with the president, and now is dealing with this. So the math behind that trillion situation is real estate surge. It surged by $50 billion for Trump. Tax and licensing windfalls, plus $100 billion. Crypto reserve boom, plus $500 billion. Trade infrastructure plays, plus $200 billion. Now, all of this is how he's going to get up get to becoming a billionaire, right? So this will be the jump through the next 3 years. Media stock magic, $150 billion. So we are talking about 50 billion, 100 billion, 500 billion, 200 billion, 150 billion. This is a sitting president of the United States. And another president had to sell a peanut farm. This is how we are. Now, yesterday, Trump did attend a football game, Commanders game in Maryland. He was booed, and through the boos, he was trying to enlist, he was reading out the pledge, right, to serve the United States and America for new military recruits. Take a look. This is a very short clip just to give you. No, I don't have it. No, it's fine. Anyway, he was there on the microphone. Just imagine there's a football game and he's reading, I solemnly swear, and then fill out your name here that I will protect, defend, all that type of stuff. But he was booed, given finger, and all that kind of stuff. White House officials have discussed naming the new Washington Commanders Stadium, naturally, after Trump. Before the game, Trump spoke to the press, and he did meet the moment, because at that point, the Senate is voting, right, on reopening the government. People are sitting in airplanes, right, for hours waiting to lift off, because now we are 10% down with our, air traffic. People have nothing to eat, right? They're fighting for it. Now, Trump meets the moment. He says, quote, I just want to say, was that the greatest flyover ever? Nobody has ever done a flyover like that. Country is doing well. Meanwhile, the Beast, his car, the Beast, while traveling to, bring him to the airport, so to speak, to Air Force One, the Beast was seen traveling with, like this, as you see. The trunk was open as Motorcade traveled in Florida, to bring him to the airport. That's very interesting. Now, Swiss delegation was also seeing Trump on Friday. This completely missed the radar of our mainstream media because why? Why shall we depict that? Remember on Friday I also mentioned that the Swiss farmers are facing an overflow of milk, right? So they have their dairy exports are not meeting the production that they do have, the produce, right? There's massive milk oversupply so far, so that they're considering slaughtering cows. And so naturally, who would negotiate from, Switzerland with Trump, right? On tariffs, because this happens partially due to tariffs. What do you think should come from Switzerland? Chocolate? Well, naturally, Rolex CEO Dufour. Swiss execs met with Trump to discuss tariffs and allegedly give him something to sign, which doesn't have to be signed, but and they gave him a Rolex, as you see here, some special thing, and an engraved gold bar. Now, this happened on Friday. Now, we talked about Al-Shara and we talked about BBC. Let's talk about President Zelensky, and then I'm going to leave you with that and lead you to our news briefing. Short and sweet, free. Read the actual news. You can share it, discuss it, and whatnot. All right, link is in description of this. Zelensky gave an interview, and he said that King Charles played the major role in rebuilding that relationship after that Oval Office fiasco. Relationship between, naturally, Zelensky and Trump. And Zelensky said that he now maintains a normal working relationship with Trump. Later, he also gave an interview where he said that, look, everyone is afraid of Trump, but I'm not. I see Trump as our business partner. He wants deals? Okay. Now, here's the deal. I want to buy 25 Patriot systems, right? Defense systems. And I want America to give the green light for our European partners to ship to us their Patriot systems and ensure, right, while America ensures that they will be getting theirs once, the delivery can be fulfilled. So Zelensky found this type of approach to put emotions aside and deal with Trump the way he wants to be dealt with. The same as Saudi Arabia, the same as Qatar, and now Al-Shara in Syria does. I give you this, you give me that. It's transactional, nothing personal, it's business. So, okay, here's Trump wants to do business, or if Putin will call him right away and tell him the business. So Zelensky also, not Zelensky, former NATO Secretary General. Do you remember Jens Stoltenberg? He gave an interview where he said that on February 24th, right after the full-scale invasion of Ukraine, Zelensky did call Jens Stoltenberg and asked to close the sky. To which, as he recalls, again, February 24th, 2022, Stoltenberg said it would require striking Russian air defense systems, risking direct war. And Biden did agree. And Stoltenberg said that he recalled this decision to be extremely painful, saying that he feared it might have been the last time they spoke with Zelensky. Now, meanwhile, Zelensky detailed Ukraine's evolving multi-layered air defense strategy, asked for 25 Patriot systems. But meanwhile, Russia has been bombarding Ukraine, all regions throughout the weekend. 9 regions came under attack, mostly. Russia launched 45 missiles, only 9 were intercepted, and 450 drones they launched as well. There is a lack of defense capabilities. So, emergency power cuts were imposed across nearly all Ukrainian regions. It's snowing there. It's freezing there at this point. Zelensky says, quote, everyone in the world is afraid of Trump, but I'm not afraid. We're strategic partners. Enemies should be afraid. but we and America are friends. Meanwhile, Australia has reportedly bought 3 million tons of Russian origin petroleum products since 2023, routing this through Singapore. So this came out as part of an investigation. It's in your newsletter as well. And Lukoil did a bit of force majeure. And I hope you did join Honest Plus. If you haven't, please do, because we meet once a month on Zoom. And last time we spoke for 2.5 hours. It doesn't have to be this long, but I answer all your questions off the record. And if you were there and if you listened, you know exactly who's behind it. So Russian oil giant Lukoil has declared force majeure, how you pronounce it, at the massive Vast Kurna 2 oil field in Iraq. So Lukoil had a production facility, so to speak, in Bulgaria that is bought by Qatar now. Well, it's like officially UK company holding whatever, owned by Qatar. And now they're moving their main oil production to Iraq. And this is one of the world's largest, oil fields currently in Iraq. The move follows Iraq's suspension of all payments to the company after US and EU imposed sanctions on Lukoil at the end of October. So now, if this becomes part of their system and part of their assets, then yeah. Winding down, again, the sanctions, when we talk about sanctions on Russia and their oil producers and companies, and this is not due yet. The winding down, the sanctions will only hit American assets from November 21st on, and UK assets from November 28th on. The sanctions are not being imposed yet. So they gave them a month to figure out their thing, and it seems like they are figuring their things out as well. And a big thing was in Japan today. Well, essentially last week, the Japanese new Prime Minister, Sanae Takaichi, she warned that a war in Taiwan could constitute the existential crisis for Japan. Days later, Xu Jian, China's consul general based in Osaka in Japan, said, quote, "I have no choice but to cut off that filthy hat. Are you ready?" This was then immediately deleted, but it caused a big uproar in Japan. They have spoken out, then China has spoken out, and China keeps provoking them. And I put it in the deep dive in our today's newsletter. So I would love to direct you there. Again, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for the sweetest comment. Thank you, Bonnie. Good to see you. Thanks for all you do. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Again, keep your head on a swivel. Stay positive. Also added some human or humanity point there. There's a TikToker who, does well, so to speak. So watch the video, read about it, and certainly it will boost your mood. Okay, so I'm running off to witness a debate on Venezuela right now. So I will leave you with that, and I will report on that all tomorrow. So have a peaceful evening. Thank you again for being here. Please like and share, and make sure you support independent media. Thank you for being here.